I know I do not need to stress about paying bond every month. What this does for a property investor, this means that my monthly expenses or my operational costs will be less.
So now that can actually decrease how much you actually invest in this particular
Property being your biggest investment. Once you go wrong with property investing and you buy a property that's not cash flow positive, and then now you're forced to sell. And once you become forced to sell and then nobody does buy it in that time frame that was given to you, you are at the risk of being blacklisted.
I want to actually control this particular property rather than actually owning this particular property. I would never buy property using cash.
I would never buy property using credit.
Hey there.
Hi everybody, you are tuned into Now Wealth. My name is Nell.
And my name is Lebu.
Today we've got quite an interesting topic because through the course that we created, our clients have been coming through and saying, gents, should I buy using credit or should I buy using cash?
Before we even go into should I buy using credit or should I buy using cash, let's first start understanding what do we mean when we are saying that I'm going to be buying cash, right? So now when someone says they're going to be buying this particular property cash, it means that they have the money to actually put down for that whole particular property. So now if the property is worth 1 million, they have that 1 million to actually put down to buy the particular property.
And when we're talking about the credit route, what we're saying is that the person is able to apply for a home loan. So once they are able to apply for a home loan, whether it's under the business or it's under their own personal capacity, they are able to apply for a home loan so that they can do either investment or for personal reasons.
So now that we understand what we mean when we're buying cash and when we're buying credit, now please go deeper into what do we mean when we say that. What are the pros when we are actually going to be buying using cash?
Oh, when we're doing cash, man, I mean, you know that I bought the property and I know that when I bought the property, that means I took out that lump sum. If the house was 1 million, I took out the 1 million and I know I do not need to stress about paying bond every month. What this does for a property investor, this means that my monthly expenses or my operational costs will be less. In times like this, the global pandemic, is that let's say that there were no students living in that particular property, or let's say that if you were housing 10 people, 8 left. Now I know that my income is less. So now if my income is less and I had X amount of expenses, I knew that bond, which is one of your biggest expenses, especially if you took it on a loan, a home loan, I know that the bond will be one of my biggest. So in that regard, I know that if I bought the cash route, my expenses will be less.
Most definitely. So now when you're looking at another pro of actually buying your property using cash, you won't be actually paying the bond registration. So now that can actually decrease how much you actually invest in this particular property.
So now let's go to the cons of buying cash. I mean, man, I started with the pros, but looking at the cons, man, is that you need your property journey in terms of investing or moving or scaling up. It will take a longer period. Because why am I saying that? Is that if I know that the next property that I'm looking for is about 2 million, I need to start saving to get to that 2 million. So now using cash only, I know that I need to save X amount on a monthly basis and I need to be very strict with regards to that. And it is going to take me a longer period instead of comparing it to using credit.
Most definitely. So now when you're looking at your cash, right, buying this particular cash, what we see a lot of people making mistakes is that, remember, at Nong Wealth, we are actually going to be looking at property as both an investment and as a business, right? So now when you're looking at that particular situation whereby someone actually came out with the cash and bought that particular property, they tend to actually forget about the ROI, how hard their money is actually working for them. So now because they're getting that consistent monthly income that's coming into their pockets, right? But now they forget how to actually run my numbers to actually see if everything's going well. Because now I know with credit, it forces you to actually sit down and check that how much is your ROI, how much are you actually left after your expenses. But now with the cash side, it makes you relax and you might end up thinking that everything is still good. But now at the end of the day, you are actually missing the investment side of that particular property.
Wow. Oh, that's a great analysis. That's one of the things that we always talk to our clients, that with property investing, it's not just buying the house. It's the business that comes to it. Once you understand the business, once you understand the back office, that's when you can easily scale up because you will be knowing every time you go into a property investing, it's because the return on investment is sitting at X amount.
Most definitely. So now let's go into credit, man. I hear you speaking about cash, cash, cash. So now what are the pros of actually buying a particular property cash on using credit?
The pros is that when I'm using credit, I know that I use the financial institutions. So now I will know that even with regards to scaling won't be a problem because I know that I'll just look at my credit score. I know that, especially with credit score, how am I looking? Have I been doing the necessary payments? The past 3 months, have I been earning X amount on an X particular date? I'm going to look at that, and I know that I can go to my bond originator and tell them, whether it's after 6 months or even after a year, after acquiring that first property, and ask them, how about you actually help me to apply for my second home loan? Of course, affordability will be something that's actually going to be in my favor or not. So if I did know and I did factor in affordability during my property journey as I wanted to scale for the next property, I'll be in safe hands.
Yes, definitely. So now when I'm looking at a particular property, right, and I actually want to buy this particular property, I'm looking at it from a credit side. So now what does that mean? I want to actually control this particular property rather than actually owning this particular property. So now once I start being able to control this particular property, I'm in control of the cash flow of that particular property. So now when you're looking at that, looking at your long term, I want to actually control this particular property and I don't want to own this particular property. Even if it means that by next month I'll be actually paying off this particular house, I'm going to actually get more debt on that particular house because now the reason why that is the case, right? It links up to what Neo said earlier on. It enables me to actually cash flow, or it enables me to actually buy another property using that particular property as security. So now in that way, I'm able to actually buy more properties at a faster rate than someone that would actually buy a particular property using cash.
Wow, man, the way you explain that, I can tell you right now, I doubt if there are any cons with regards to credit, or is there?
There are cons.
Wow.
There are cons.
Wow.
If you do not actually invest in your education, you can go completely wrong, right? That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, right? Is that they actually go out and take a particular property using credit, but now they end up actually cash flowing negative until to a point whereby they can't actually pay the banks back. Once they have actually gotten to that point whereby they can actually pay the bank, right, they then actually want to sell this particular property as soon as possible. You don't want to find yourself in that way. So now please, I urge you, invest in yourself before you actually invest in a property.
Truman, once you start investing in yourself, you avoid a whole lot of risks, man. And at the end of the day, we're looking at property. We always talk about property being your biggest investment. And once you go wrong with property investing and you buy a property that's not cash flow positive, and then now you're forced to sell, and once you become forced to sell and then nobody does buy it in that time frame that was given to you, you are at the risk of being blacklisted. So what that means is that even when you want to apply for other businesses outside property, or when it comes to the point whereby you did invest in yourself and you're ready to grow your portfolio, you will not be able because of the mistake that you did before. So it's very important to actually weigh all of these pros and weigh all of these cons and then take a decision, because I truly believe property investing is not a one shoe size fits all. It's rather tailor-made. So now, in order for you to actually grow your property in a more sustainable manner and achieve your financial goals through property investing, you need to invest in yourself and actually take strategic decision making.
I'm sure now you actually get a picture, a rough sketch of if I'm actually going to be using credit or if I'm actually going to be using cash, right? So now with that being said, please do post down below. If you actually rooting for the credit side, please put credit below. If you are actually rooting for the cash side, please also pop it down below.
We couldn't talk about every pro and every con towards credit versus cash. There's so many that you can actually talk about. And if you are a first-time investor, or if you are a beginner and you're like, you know what, gents, how about we can sit down, or how can you add value to my journey? I'm about to start investing and I'm not quite sure, do I go the property, do I go the cash route, or do I go the credit route? You know what, we'd be more than happy to set up a Zoom meeting with you so that we can discuss the fundamentals of property investing and how we can add value to your property journey.
Most definitely. If you have actually watched until this far, please put down a pro down below. Like,
it's been a while. It's been a while.
Like and make sure that you have actually subscribed to our channel.
Looking forward to seeing you next week. Long Wealth signing out.